You know that feeling when you're faced with a software system that's so old and tangled, it feels like trying to navigate a digital maze blindfolded?
Oh, yeah.
The kind of system where even the simplest update seems like this monumental task.
Mm.
If that resonates with you, and I'm guessing it does for quite a few of you, then you've tuned into the right conversation.
Yeah, that sense of being like weighed down by outdated technology is a really common hurdle for many organizations.
So today we're taking a deep dive into a fascinating potential solution to this exact problem, modernizing software using generative AI. And the people who've really grabbed our attention on this front, based on the material we've been looking at, are the team at Xebia. They've put together a document, and I have to say, the title is pretty bold. holdmybeer.pdf. It offers a compelling look at how they're approaching this.
The title definitely signals a certain level of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It immediately made me want to understand what's behind it.
Exactly. So our goal today is to unpack that hold my beer confidence and really get under the hood of how Xebia is applying generative AI to what can often feel like an insurmountable challenge. Those, sprawling legacy systems.
Yeah.
We want to see if they've genuinely found a faster route to understanding and improving these complex beasts.
And the story of Chris Kukol is particularly interesting here. He's the Polish team lead at Xebia, with like 2 decades immersed in modernization and even a PhD focused on making language easier to understand.
Right.
What's intriguing is that he wasn't initially convinced about the real-world impact of GenAI in this field.
Right. So someone with a deep practical understanding, not just, swayed by the latest tech buzz. Yet, after a year of rigorously testing these new tools and frameworks, his team's perspective has completely shifted. That hold my beer attitude isn't just marketing. It seems rooted in their experience tackling complex modernization projects head on.
It really sets the stage, doesn't it? You can almost picture the kind of scenario Xebia is geared up for. This massive neglected software solution built with a patchwork of outdated tech.
Yeah.
Plagued by quality issues, barely tested, riddled with security holes, lacking any real documentation, and, bearing the scars of countless developers.
The kind of system where looking at the code feels like an archaeological dig. You're just trying to piece together what ancient tech created this and why, and Xebia's stance is basically bring it on.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this confident attitude. Let's dig into what kind of tangible value they're actually claiming they can deliver and how quickly.
Well, what's quite remarkable is their assertion that they can demonstrate serious value in just a couple of days. In the realm of large-scale modernization, that's incredibly fast.
Absolutely. And they're not just making vague promises. They're listing specific deliverables.
Mm-hmm.
A thorough understanding of the whole solution, both functional and technical. A clear assessment of the potential savings time, cost, effort for modernization, a concrete execution plan, and even the infrastructure requirements.
Yeah.
That's a pretty comprehensive list for just a few days.
It strongly suggests their GenAI-driven approach lets them rapidly analyze and synthesize just vast amounts of information about these really intricate systems.
Yeah.
And the fact that their team is expanding due to significant demand, well, that really reinforces the confidence businesses are placing in this methodology.
Right. It's clearly not just theoretical then. They've applied this in real-world scenarios across a diverse range of solutions, from core stuff like payroll and HR, finance, accounting, to critical public services like national health systems and document management solutions. That's quite a spectrum.
Which underscored the idea that the fundamental principles of understanding and transforming complex code bases, well, they can be applied across different industries and domains.
Right.
However, it's important to emphasize, as Xebia does, that experienced engineers remain absolutely vital. GenAI is a powerful tool, sure, but it acts as an amplifier for human expertise, not, a substitute.
Exactly. It's about augmenting human capabilities. Okay, so this sounds like maybe a game changer for Xebia, but let's bring it back to you, the listener. Who exactly stands to gain the most from this type of GenAI-powered modernization?
Well, if we look at the bigger picture, the benefits seem to reach a wide range of stakeholders. Consider CTOs and heads of engineering.
Okay.
For them, this approach provides a way to more effectively tackle that often daunting task of upgrading legacy systems. This, in turn, frees up their valuable dev resources to focus on new, innovative projects that can, drive the business forward.
That makes perfect sense. Nobody wants their best developers stuck wrestling with ancient code. What about the folks on the product side?
For product owners, the advantages are significant too. They gain more confidence in upgrading clients to the latest versions, which finally unlocks opportunities to upsell new features and dramatically cut the costs associated with maintaining older, more fragile systems.
Right.
That's a clear win on multiple fronts, really.
Definitely impacts the bottom line positively. And you mentioned companies looking to buy or build software companies. How does that fit in?
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. For those involved in M&A or even building new software ventures, the ability to quickly grasp the state of an existing system and accelerate value creation is a major plus.
Hmm.
It reduces the inherent uncertainty and risk that comes with inheriting or integrating complex code bases.
That early due diligence can be absolutely critical, yeah. And finally, you mentioned cloud account managers.
Yes, for them, having a faster, more efficient way to modernize their clients' applications translates directly into quicker, smoother migrations to the cloud. That's often a key strategic goal for their clients anyway.
So a pretty broad range of people can see real advantages here. Now, the document goes into the specifics of the tools they're using. They talk about their modernizer approach and how it differs from standard tools on the market. Let's delve into that comparison.
Okay, yeah. This brings up a crucial question about the different options out there for improving code. Xebia makes a clear distinction between their custom-built modernizer and readily available tools like, Copilot, Amazon Q Developer, Perplexity, Cursor AI.
Right. Those standard tools have certainly become popular for everyday coding tasks like IDE plugins and stuff. What are the main benefits they offer?
Well, their primary strength lies in addressing common day-to-day coding needs right in the developer's workflow. They can suggest code completions, help with debugging, quickly answer coding questions, that sort of thing.
Makes sense for boosting individual developer productivity, but where do they, fall short when you're talking about tackling these massive modernization projects?
This is where their limitations become more apparent. Standard tools often have limited flexibility. There's less ability to control the guardrails. Think of those as the boundaries you set for the AI and the specific instructions or system prompts guiding its behavior.
Okay.
Their automation capabilities are also typically more constrained, and scaling their use for more complex, extensive tasks, well, that can require significant specialized knowledge.
So they're effective for focused individual tasks, but maybe lack the broader oversight and automation needed for whole legacy systems. That's where Xebia argues for custom tools, emphasizing full control. What's that mean in practice?
With a custom tool like their modernizer, Xebia can define and precisely control those guardrails, the underlying system prompts that direct the AI's intelligence, integrate internal knowledge specific to their modernization methods, and leverage established patterns for code transformation.
Right.
This level of control is essential for ensuring consistency and accuracy across large, complex projects.
It sounds like they can really fine-tune the AI's capabilities to their specific needs and the unique quirks of the systems they're tackling. They also highlight audit capabilities. What does that look like with their custom approach?
What's particularly valuable here is the ability to thoroughly examine entire code bases and related stuff like documentation or specs. They can automate these audits and generate reports on demand tailored to different audiences, whether it's a deep technical analysis, a client-friendly summary, or a business-focused overview.
Okay.
This adaptability is a key advantage.
That sounds incredibly useful for getting a comprehensive handle on a system's health and spotting the key areas needing attention. They also mention handling massive transformations. How does their custom tool deal with these big changes?
Well, their custom tools are specifically designed to operate on large code bases in parallel. This means they can process numerous files simultaneously, gather insights from many different parts of the system, and effectively work with the overall code architecture, not just isolated files. This parallel processing is crucial for efficiency with sprawling legacy systems.
So it's not just making changes piece by piece, it's a more holistic approach. And they also talk about process automation. What's that about?
Exactly. They can customize integration points within the CI/CD pipeline, automating various stages of the modernization process itself. This automation goes beyond just code changes to encompass other aspects of the dev lifecycle, streamlining the whole workflow.
It seems like it all circles back to having a really accurate understanding of the code base, doesn't it? They emphasize this lets them mimic what an expert would strive to do. How does GenAI facilitate that expert-level analysis?
Well, by processing and analyzing just vast quantities of code and related info, the GenAI can identify patterns, dependencies, potential issues with a speed and consistency that would be, frankly, incredibly challenging for a human expert working manually.
Yeah, I bet.
This data-driven accuracy is particularly valuable for tasks like improving test coverage or upgrading testing frameworks, ultimately leading to a more robust, reliable system.
So it's about amplifying expert intuition with the analytical power of AI, which leads to more confident changes, smoother client upgrades, reduced support costs. Sounds like a win-win. Now, they introduced something called the Xebia Generative AI Enhanced Modernization Framework. That sounds like the core of their approach.
Yes, the GM framework seems to be where they integrate their modernization methodology with their custom GenAI tools. It provides a structured approach for how GenAI assists throughout the entire modernization journey.
Okay, let's break down how it helps at each stage. First up is the initial investigation. How does GenAI help there?
In this phase, the framework significantly speeds things up by quickly identifying the technologies and frameworks used in the system, plus any technical dependencies. This automated analysis can save a huge amount of time otherwise spent manually digging through code and config files.
Yeah, that initial discovery can often be a real slog.
Wow.
Next, they mention detecting technical debt.
This is another critical area. The framework uses GenAI to analyze the code base and identify technical debt considering various factors and provides insights in, like, minutes. Technical debt, it's like interest on a loan in software.
Right, the shortcuts that bite you later.
Exactly. So this quick identification allows for a more informed and efficient strategy for tackling those underlying issues.
Shining a light on those hidden complexities. What about documentation, which is, let's be honest, often missing or outdated in older systems?
Oh, yes. The GM framework automates preparing documentation at various levels of detail. Whether it's a high-level executive summary or detailed explanations of specific code modules, the AI can generate documentation that's, well, essential for understanding and maintaining these complex systems.
Wow. That alone could save countless hours and prevent future headaches. Then there are recommendations.
Effective modernization planning involves weighing different options against business needs, right? The framework speeds this up by helping prepare a range of recommendations, allowing for more informed discussions, and ultimately quicker decision-making.
Streamlining that often tricky planning process.
Yep.
And then we get to the actual modernization execution. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. The framework can automatically convert portions of the legacy code to the new chosen tech, potentially leading to time savings of 20–30% or even more in some cases. It depends on the specific path, database, migration, cloud move, framework updates, whatever.
That's a significant efficiency boost. And finally, they discuss building foundations. What's that?
Well, in large, complex projects, a lot of code handles repetitive foundational tasks, stuff for maintainability, scalability. The framework can auto-generate these foundational code elements, freeing up dev teams to focus their valuable time on the core business logic.
So it handles the boilerplate, letting the experts focus on the unique value. Now, they also outline the step-by-step process of using this framework. It seems to be divided into clear phases.
Yes, they describe a 4-phase approach. It starts with a discovery deep dive, usually about a day. This involves workshops to nail down priorities, requirements, source target tech, identify blockers, define a rough plan, evaluate methods, prep initial docs, and do a feasibility check.
Okay.
The GenAI contribution here is a workshop report suggesting an approach, listing artifacts and highlighting challenges.
A fast, focused initial assessment. What's next?
Phase 2 is the evaluation phase. A bit longer, maybe 2 to 5 days. The focus here is quick verification, presenting tangible results, proving the value. This includes evaluating specific components, documenting feasibility, recommending an approach, and suggesting the best method. The GenAI delivers a proof of value repository.
Getting some early wins, building confidence. Phase 3 is creating the modernization plan.
Right. This phase varies in length. It involves a formal recommendation on the methods, a detailed plan for evaluation steps, and the full modernization execution plan. GenAI helps generate the recommendation and the proposed plan.
Laying out the detailed roadmap, and finally the modernization execution phase.
This is where the plan gets executed. The timeline can vary a lot, 1 to 4 days or much longer, depending on the scope. The specific processes depend on the app and the company. The ultimate GenAI contribution, the modernized system itself.
A tangible, hopefully improved outcome. And it's collaborative, right? Involving Xebia, the client's architects, legacy experts.
Yes, and often a combined team during execution. Now, they also give us a look at a specific tool called Xmodernizer.
Ah, okay.
Yes, Xmodernizer seems to be a key component of their GM framework, the practical tool embodying their GenAI approach.
Gotcha. Let's walk through some of its main capabilities. It starts with project and repository management. Simple enough.
Yeah, basically lets teams set up projects in Xmodernizer, connect to Git repos, or just upload code folders, a central place to manage the effort.
Then there's general investigation. What does that cover?
Once the code's loaded, Xmodernizer automatically kicks off an investigation, identifies tech, pinpoints technical debt, generates initial modernization recommendations, gives you that high-level overview quickly.
Getting the lay of the land fast. It also allows for reviewing technical debt detected. How deep does that go?
Xmodernizer analyzes technical debt at the application level, not just surface stuff. It provides insights into critical issues and suggests specific actions, helping prioritize where to focus the modernization effort.
Focusing on the big impact stuff first.
Uh,
What about understanding the application structure? They mentioned creating folder module documentation from code.
This feature auto-generates documentation at the module or folder level. It's super useful for quickly grasping the purpose of different application parts without diving deep into the actual code, like getting an architectural blueprint almost.
That sounds like a massive time saver, especially for onboarding or just refamiliarizing yourself. You can also dig deeper with investigating technical debt in folders modules.
Yes, Xmodernizer lets you zoom in and examine debt within specific modules or folders. This granular view helps understand issues in smaller, logical code sections, making targeted efforts easier.
Getting down to specifics when needed. And for even more detail, there's creating documentation per file.
Right, this generates detailed docs for individual files, provides a very precise understanding of what a specific piece of code does, crucial for making informed modernization decisions.
For when you really need to understand that one function. Now, putting it all together, creating modernization plan.
Xmodernizer can automatically generate these plans based on its analysis. They're customizable. You can select steps, adjust target tech, define roles, and even create modernization experiments to test approaches before fully committing.
So it's not rigid, it's a starting point you can adapt. And once you have a plan, automated code modernization and migration. This sounds like where the big efficiency gains are.
This is where Xmodernizer generates reviewable files based on those experiments. These files form the basis of the actual modernization. They even give an example of migrating parts of a legacy PHP app to Symfony automatically.
Seeing that practical example really helps illustrate the potential, yeah. Finally, Xmodernizer can even help with generating business requirements from code. That's clever.
Yeah, this is great when original docs are scarce. Xmodernizer analyzes the code and tries to infer the underlying business needs. This can then be used to create test cases and automate testing, ensuring the modernized system still meets the original objectives.
Bridging that gap between code and business value. Okay, so they summarize the key advantages for that initial project investigation phase.
Right, basically. Rapid understanding of structure and tech, automatic debt detection and migration suggestions, automated documentation at different levels. It all significantly cuts down the time needed to understand the existing code and figure out where to focus.
A really powerful way to kick off any modernization project. And they back this up with some concrete examples of results from actual projects. Let's highlight a few.
Okay, one example is migrating features in an HRM application from an old PHP framework to the latest Symfony. Using their approach, they saw about a 20% improvement in the efficiency of the manual code migration part. Think about the person-hours saved on a big project with that kind of gain.
That's tangible, yeah. Significant saving in developer time. What about testing? That's often a huge bottleneck.
In another HR app where lots of code lacked unit tests, their GenAI framework helped generate them, resulting in an impressive 80-90% reduction in time compared to writing them manually.
Wow, 80-90%.
Yeah. That's not just time saved. It's a massive boost in test coverage, cutting future bug risk and leading to a much more stable system.
That is huge. Incredible impact on quality. They also tackled migrating stored procedures in an accounting app.
Yes, where a lot of business logic was stuck in complex stored procedures. They did a proof of concept for migrating to .NET 8, estimating a potential 30-40% time saving for the overall process.
Okay.
That kind of saving can dramatically cut the risk and effort involved.
Could really make or break the feasibility of such a migration. And what about modernizing the core application code itself?
For another accounting app, they modernized legacy ASP.NET to .NET 6, again using a phased approach with auto-generated components. They estimate about a 20% overall efficiency improvement for the whole process.
consistent savings across different challenges then. They even tackled a Windows-based WPF application.
Right, migrating a desktop app to web-based Blazor. Their framework handled the initial work of migrating WPF forms to Blazor forms, saving an estimated 20–30% of the time for that initial phase.
Getting a significant head start on even complex UI migrations.
Exactly.
And this next one really highlights the AI's power to understand existing systems, database translation.
This was a really compelling case. A legacy database, over 750 tables, tons of columns, German field names, descriptions, comments, abbreviations, like over 17,000 items needing translation.
Wow.
Their GenAI approach helped create an English version, saving an estimated 40–50% of the time compared to manual translation. Imagine trying to do that manually and keep it consistent.
That's incredible. The sheer scale. The AI clearly handled the complexity much more efficiently. They also briefly list other examples: automatic integration tests, .NET to Golang migration, scaffolding .NET 8 code from requirements. Really shows the breadth.
It does indeed, and it all leads back to that confident challenge from Xebia. So give Xebia modernization team a challenge, but get ready to hold their beer.
Yeah.
That really sums up their belief in this GenAI-supported framework.
Absolutely. So for you, the listener, the key takeaway here is that generative AI is moving fast from just buzz to being a practical, impactful tool for software modernization. Xebia's approach, well, it offers a really compelling demonstration.
Yeah, we've seen the potential for much faster understanding, real cost and time savings, better code quality, better testing, and ultimately letting dev teams focus on innovation instead of just wrestling with legacy burdens.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If AI can understand and transform these complex systems so quickly, what other, seemingly intractable problems might be solvable in unexpected ways? Perhaps it's worth considering how this kind of approach could apply in your own world to tackle those challenges that feel like, well, like digital spaghetti right now.